Welcome to Mental Health Dumpster Fire, a podcast where therapists give their real opinions on mental health, relationships, parenting, and pop culture. Hosted by Courtney Laver, licensed clinical social worker, and Jess Miller, art therapist. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only, and cannot be used as a substitute for therapy. We cannot provide mental health services via this podcast or social media. We occasionally use explicit language in our podcast and discuss serious mental health and relationship issues. Please use discretion if you are listening with children. We hope you enjoy the show. Don't forget to subscribe. Okay. Welcome to the show. We're here.
Is there a camera on?
Your
Yeah,
camera.
that's your
Hi.
camera.
Okay.
We are here today with Jenny Townsend, local
Yeah.
LCSW,
Yeah.
and we're very excited to have you as a guest today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
Yay. I'm excited.
Yeah. Do you want to give a brief introduction of who you are and what you do?
I am an LCSW. I'm in private practice. I've been in the mental health field for 20 years. I've done a little bit of everything, but been in private practice for about 12 years now on my own. So, yeah.
Cool.
What
Yeah.
made you want to be a therapist? It's my favorite question.
Oh, that's going to go like way back.
Okay.
I was always the friend that people asked questions to, like, how do I do this, Jenny? What do you think about this, Jenny? You know, give me some advice about this. And so I think it started way back when I was even in middle school. And then in high school, I took a psychology class and I was like, oh my gosh, I love this so much. And so then I knew I wanted to major in psychology in college, and then graduated with my bachelor's in psychology, and then worked for CPS. And then I was like, I really definitely need to go to grad school. And so I was going to actually do art therapy at U of L.
yeah.
I'm not an artist, but I thought art therapy was really, really cool. And then when I worked at CPS, they were like, you should maybe think about doing a master's in social work. And so I looked into it and I'm like, ooh, I love social work. So that's why I chose that, and then did like a plethora of jobs, like residential work. Let's see, obviously CPS, hospital work, like all kinds of community mental health. Then I did the community mental health, and I was like, ooh, I kind of like this. So I like being a therapist. I like hearing people's stories. That was like number one thing that I loved. So yeah.
Yeah, you're like our last guest. You went through all of the rites of passage of residential and community and CPS and all that.
Yep. And I really liked every second of that with the clients. Now, some of the other stuff wasn't my favorite, but the clients I've always loved.
Yeah.
All the clients that I've worked with. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's the same for me. I didn't like all the paperwork.
No, or all of the bureaucratic or
Yes.
whatever stuff. Yeah, definitely was not my favorite. So I like relationship and connection.
Yeah.
yeah.
I originally went to school to become a teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Yeah.
there's so much bureaucracy in public schools.
Yeah.
And being told what to do all the time, I was like, nope.
Yeah.
I need a
Also,
career
I
change.
don't like being told what to do.
Yeah.
Yes. So
I went to work
yeah.
for myself.
Exactly.
That's how I work best.
Exactly.
What do you specialize in your practice?
Well, so when I became a therapist, I was kind of a generalist therapist on my own. So I took a lot of everything, because when I started private practice, I was working for a group practice, and I didn't like that because I like to do my own thing. So I decided to go out on my own and a little bit of everything. And then it just started to kind of filter into trauma work. I had stepped my toe into trauma work, and where I started at the West End 7 counties, which I don't think exists 22nd and Broadway.
It's all one thing now, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was on the team called the transitions team there, which is domestic violence, physical abuse, and sexual abuse. And I worked with women and children. And so I really, really was interested in helping people with trauma like that. And so it kind of started filtering into people with lots of trauma were attracted to me. And so I was like, all right, this is what I'll do. But that's heavy. So I do other things, like I think we'll probably talk about the Induced After Death Communication.
Oh, yeah. I'm
So,
fascinated
yes,
to learn about
it
that.
is really fascinating. So I do the trauma work. I do a lot of like empowering work with women, because I was getting a lot of women that were in relationships that were very disempowering. And I love to watch people just find their North Star of themselves. So that's kind of like I get, and a lot of those women are in traumatic relationships or have had a traumatic past. So I guess that's kind of it. Like I'll work with a lot of relationship trauma, whether it's childhood trauma or current relationship, which is always goes back to the childhood trauma. And then, I love mystical things. So I specialize in trauma, specialize in helping women and men. I mean, in therapy, we don't have as many men. I mean, I don't know about you guys,
Yeah.
but like not as many men seek therapy as women do. So I do have male people on my caseload, but it's just not as many. But I do love working with men who are searching deeply for connection with other people. I would love for men to be more connected to each other.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10 when I get a male client, it's like they just are seeking some connection with human beings, basically.
Right.
And like,
exactly.
how do I do that?
Yeah. How do I better my relationships? How do I better get to know me? How do I, better my relationship with my significant other or my family or whatever? And I just love that. I love all my male clients. So love it that they're doing that.
Yeah, I love that you do that empowerment work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially after like traumatic relationships, and that can just totally tear you down.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, people just lose themselves in relationships. And then women, we can do it all, right? And when we're in a relationship with somebody that's abusive to us, it just takes away our identity. And so I love helping people find their identity again and just watch them light up and say, this is who I was when I was a little kid, or this is who I was before I met this person. I just love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about the intensive stuff because I feel like you all have more questions about the IEDC, and I'll get the intensive stuff kind of like out of the way first.
Yeah.
So intensives, I think, are something that a lot of therapists are kind of exploring now because an hour-long session just isn't enough a lot of the time. I love, like I was saying earlier, to know people's stories, and I like to really dig deep in people's stories. Like, tell me about your grandmother. Tell me about your great-grandmother. Tell me about your great-great-grandmother. Like I love that stuff. Tell me about your parents and how they met and what their relationship was like. Because I know that forms all of us. Like being trained in EMDR, the past informs the present and the future. And so like, I love all of that. So I need to know all of that story. And then I want to like dig into your story and your habits and your life. And so an hour just goes by really fast when you're doing it like that. So I love 2-hour sessions. I love 3-hour sessions. I've yet to do anything longer than 3 hours, but I would love to. So, but we just get so much done and so many light bulbs come on, and the relationship is so much easier to build if you spend more time with people. So that's what I love about intensive sessions.
The intensive sessions, you said they're like hour and a half, 2 hours.
They can be, some therapists do like weekend long intensive sessions, which I would also love, but people don't know what intensive sessions are really. So if you were to propose it to a client, they're like, what do you mean days long or hours long?
Right.
That just sounds exhausting. But then when you do it, it's like so invigorating.
Yeah.
But people don't really know about intensives because they're used to the 1 hour once a week or every 2 week session. So
yeah, I feel like I don't usually hear about intensives except for like retreats, and that's usually
or
groups
couples
and-
therapy.
Yeah.
Do
So
they usually achieve their goals sooner? Doing
yes,
intensive?
it can be definitely faster because if you're doing EMDR, it's a phase protocol, right? Like there's 8 phases. So, and everybody is different on how they progress along those phases. So it's not like a straight line. But if you have an intensive session, you can do what's called resourcing with EMDR, where you teach people like skills to help them stay in their window of tolerance.
Okay.
And so if somebody's coming in for therapy, it might take you session after session after session to build that relationship and build their window of tolerance and the resourcing that they need and targets that you're going to work on and things like that. But if you have a long amount of time and you feel safe in the room with the therapist, then that is just easier to do.
Just keep the ball rolling.
Right.
Yeah.
More quickly. And so, yes, you do meet your targets sometimes way faster than you would coming back week after week or every 2 weeks or whatever. So,
Cool.
yeah.
Are there some people who would be better fits for intensive therapy than others?
I mean, I guess it depends on how much they can tolerate of
Yeah.
like doing the therapy. And of course, it has to do with the relationship because relationship is in therapy is everything, right? So if me and my client don't mesh, then like definitely that's not going to work out. I would say, because I'm thinking through like my Rolodex of clients in my head and thinking about the ones that are like, I don't think I would want to do that. And the people are like, yes. So I don't know. I guess it just depends on if I can get somebody to feel comfortable enough,
Yeah.
then I think most anybody could do intensive therapy. Because I'm just thinking, like, who wouldn't be able to do it?
So
But
intensive therapy sessions could be done after like X amount of hour-long sessions, maybe.
it could be, or it could be that you sign up for an intensive and have never met the therapist before, you know?
Okay,
So
yeah.
it could be,
Yeah.
you know, either one.
Yeah.
I've done it both ways. I've done an intensive session with somebody I'd never met before we have consultation
Yeah.
to talk about if it's a good fit or not. But then I've also done sessions with my regular clients that we've built up
Yeah.
over time. And I'm like, all right, you ready to do a long one?
Yeah.
And they're usually like, yes, let's do it. So, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I feel like you're right. It is kind of it's a therapist's ability to prepare a client to dive in like that. 'Cause
Yeah.
I know I have clients that are like, they come in for the intake and they're like, either they've seen 20 therapists, so they're like, let me
Yeah.
just give it all to you,
Yeah.
or they are very kind of reserved because they don't know if they can trust me yet. So it is kind of on
Yeah.
the therapist to help them
I think
acclimate.
it has to do with their attachment style too, right? Like if they
Mhm.
come in and they're ready to tell you everything, that's something that you also have to work with and say, all right, we might need to slow this down a little bit. And if they're willing to tell you nothing, then you got to build the relationship, you know? So,
Yeah.
So the IADC stands for Induced After Death Communication. Are you guys familiar with after death communications at all?
I'm not.
I just
No?
like read up from the website
Yeah.
what they talked about, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I've experienced that many times before.
Yeah, like
So that was cool.
symbols and like hearing a song on a radio that reminds you of that person or finding a dime somewhere or having a dream about them
Yeah.
or I don't know, their name coming up or a smell or something. So connected to a past loved one and an after death communication can be anything like that, right?
Okay.
When it comes to IADC though, it can be much more dramatic than that. So, but it's a spectrum. So anyway, so induced after death communication, there was I believe he's a psychologist. His name is Dr. Alan Bodkin, and he was working at the VA with veterans, I think mostly Vietnam veterans, and he was doing EMDR with them. And it was like at the beginning of, I think it was like at the beginning of when Francine Shapiro was like doing all the
Like in the
research.
90s? Or
Yeah, the night, because
maybe?
that's when that was too, when she was like doing all the research to prove that EMDR was effective and all
Yeah.
that. So Dr. Bodkin, was doing EMDR with veterans. And I guess he had like a lot of them talking about lost loved ones or lost platoon mates or like experiences they had if they were in Vietnam watching people die or getting connected with people that were in the villages where they were and things like that. And so he's doing EMDR with those veterans and he modified the protocol a little bit. So originally when people did EMDR, it was just eye movement and you like watch somebody's fingers go back and forth, right? So now we have tappers, we have light bars, we have music, we have, tap yourself, all that stuff. So when Dr. Bodkin was doing EMDR, he would do eye movement and then he would have the person close their eyes after the set. And he, I guess through trial and error, like these veterans were just like spontaneously having communications with people that had passed. And there's a whole book about induced after death communication, which I do not like people to read before they come to a session.
Right. Because then they have this preconceived notion of what's going to happen.
Exactly.
And,
Exactly. And a lot of times people in that, if they're seeking a communication from somebody that's passed, they really want it badly, which understandable, right? And Dr. Botkin talked about, like, if you really want it badly, then the chances of it happening are going to be low because you're like trying to force it to happen.
Yeah.
So it's a modified EMDR protocol that allows the brain to access communications from past loved ones. So that's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I know. It is really cool. It is really, really cool.
When I read the like description of the communications, like what they could be and stuff,
Mhm.
I was like, oh yeah, I could think of like an example for every single one of my senses.
Yeah.
Of like, there's certain smells that remind me of my grandma and grandpa. There's certain songs that remind me of past loved ones.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, oh yeah, like I've experienced that before in my life. I just didn't have like words. I didn't have any words for it. I was just like, oh, that just reminds me of that person. I don't remember why.
Yeah. And it's just a feeling that you have
that they're
too.
there.
Yeah, exactly. So when a person, so in the book, he talks about like, his wording is funny too, because he calls people new agers, the people that like are seeking communication with a past wife or a past loved one, like really badly. And they have gone to mediums and they have like done, other things. And he calls those people new agers. He said, you're going to have better luck with people like these veterans that weren't expecting it than with people who are like really, really into the spirit world, expecting it, things
out,
like that. Right. So, but also you have to give people a heads up that it is a spectrum of communication. So like the sessions that I've done have ranged from, oh yeah, I have an image of, something that my mom and I saw together and that came up in my mind. EMDR is a free associating thing anyway that your brain does. And so like somebody would say, oh, I saw this thing that my mom and I saw together. And that was my message that my mom was there. All the way to I've had several someones have ongoing conversations with the person who was passed. And IADC can be really like, it's so different than a regular EMDR session where the sets are pretty close together, where you do the eye movement or the tappers and then they open their eyes or they stop with the tappers and you say, what did you notice? IADC, you push the gas pedal and the person, you let them go. Like the sets go for much longer than you would a regular EMDR session. And then when they make connection with the person that's passed, it's sometimes sitting in silence for a long time and watching their face and their body language. And when I was trained, my trainer told me, like, just watch them and you'll see when they've connected to the person, because this look of peace will happen to them, which isn't true for everybody, by the way. And sometimes I'm like, are they connected with the person or are they not connected? I don't know.
Yeah.
And so, but anyway, so it can range to seeing a symbol like they would normally see, all the way to I had somebody feel the person embrace them. Yeah.
Wow.
Or have an ongoing conversation, right? Where they're just sitting there for minutes on end talking to that person. And I'll interrupt them every once in a while and be like, what's happening now? And they'll say, well, they're saying, they're watching me and that they love me. They're always around and they're telling me about a specific incident or whatever. And I think the cool thing about IADC too is they're getting the message. Because people go to mediums for the medium to relay a message.
Give the message. Yeah.
And so that's wonderful, but it's a disconnect, right? So in IADC, the person is communicating with their loved one, which is really cool.
Do clients need to have some sort of spiritual buy-in before trying
Absolutely
that?
not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. There's no spiritual buy-in required, no religious beliefs required, no non-religious beliefs required, nothing. So, yeah. And the cool thing about it too, being an EMDR practitioner who does it with people that have had like really traumatic things happen to them, is it can be like a 2-for-1. Okay. So what I mean by that is like I've had people who've had really tragic deaths happen to them with a loved one. And you're not supposed to clear up trauma with IADC, but it happens. So like they will talk to me about the death, and then I will ask them about the saddest parts of that death. And a lot of times the trauma will come into that. And afterwards, they've had a communication, and they'll go in and check, and they'll be like, I really don't feel as traumatized about that incident as I did when I came in here. So it's like a double whammy or a triple whammy.
Yeah.
Because it's like, we've helped with the trauma, you've had a communication, and now your sadness about that is a lot less.
Yeah.
So it is really cool.
When I first just like read the literal Induced After Death Communications, I was like, oh, so like a psychic medium. Like that's what it is. And then I was like, but that can't be it. And then I read what was actually going on from like their website.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is super intentional, but also like kind of free association too.
Yeah.
Put together.
And it's not for me, because I think like, okay, are they really communicating with this person? I'm a skeptic too. Okay. So like I am a spiritual person, but I also am very skeptical of it all too. And so my feeling about what happened doesn't matter whatsoever. It's whatever they feel about what happened. So even if I think, well, I don't know if that really happened or not, it doesn't matter. They feel better about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I love that about it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm on board.
Okay. Yeah.
I was very skeptical, and I was like,
Yeah.
how do you facilitate that as a therapist?
You're not even facilitating though. You're just kind of like,
Yeah.
here's what you're going to do. And then you let them do it. And then it just comes to them.
It's a lot like a normal EMDR session, because in a normal EMDR session, you're setting up targets. So say a person feels like I'm not good enough, and they have had all these experiences in their life that have made them feel not good enough. So in a regular EMDR session, you would talk about like the earliest time you ever felt that way. And then you go up the timeline to the future. So with IADC, you're talking about the saddest things about their death, right? And so it's a target sequence plan, just like if you were to do a regular EMDR session. So I'm approaching it a lot like a regular EMDR session. And I don't have any expectations about how somebody processes trauma with an EMDR session.
Right.
You know, a practice that I consult with a lot talks about EMDR being an art form. So you're like making a piece of art together, right? Because everybody is so individual in how they process things. And so IADC is a lot like that. I go into every session incredibly nervous about what's going to happen, you know, because I'm like, I did this because I've experienced a lot of loss, and I know what it's like to feel disconnected from the person that I've lost. And so if you can give somebody the gift of lowering their sadness and then feeling connected to that person again, like what a beautiful gift.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you described yourself as like a spiritual person who's also a skeptic, I'm the same way. Like I love my crystals.
Yes.
My crystals are all on my little altar over there.
Yeah.
And I love like the idea of like chakras and
Yes.
tarot and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I'm like, but it's probably bullshit. Like,
I know, right? I have the hardest time with that, because there are people that are all in either way, on either side of the spectrum.
Right.
And I'm always like, I don't know. I'm not sure, you know? So.
Yeah. I've always been like, and I think it's because my mom is a scientist, but I've always been a firm believer of it can be explained somehow.
Yeah.
Right? Like growing up, that's how my brain worked. And then I went to art school and I was like, no. And then I went to Europe and went to see all these really ancient places. And I was just like, I can't explain anything, but I can tell you right now that there are people here who are not from this time. And I could feel it. And I was like, I have no way to explain it or any scientific reason, but I know that it's happening.
yeah.
And so then I started like researching and like, why is this happening? Are they ghosts? What's happening? And still don't know why, but I've become less of a skeptic, maybe, or just like adding in maybe the spiritual stuff is real to my skepticism.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
But it's just, having a balance of both, I feel like, is the most healthy option.
Yeah. And I like that it is a personal experience for that person, not really led by you necessarily.
No.
Because
No, not
then
at all.
it can be whatever they need it to be, and it
Right.
doesn't matter how it happens.
That's right. Right. And
Yeah.
I'm not doing, and in fact, I'm telling them at the beginning of the session, now look, it may not happen. The communication may not happen at all. So just be prepared for that. At the same time, you're going to feel, hopefully, a decrease in your sadness. That's what we're aiming for, right? The communication is the cherry on top.
Yeah.
Right. So, but yeah, yes, I'm a skeptic about everything, and it frustrates me within myself about that. Like, why can't I just believe? Right. So, yeah. But I think that also comes from working with so many people who've been narcissistically abused, is like, I'm so skeptical of like people being so sure about things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm like, why are you so confident?
Exactly, right?
That's
And
not
so don't you have
natural.
like a little skepticism, and it's got to be healthy, because if you're going to be abused by somebody, you really need to keep your healthy skepticism, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if what they're saying to me is completely the truth, right? So I think there's a little seed of that too there. So
Yeah, and that's how I feel about
Yeah.
mediums sometimes. There's so
Right.
many scammy people out
Yes.
there who are just going to be like, yeah, sure, yeah, I feel it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm all about people who debunk things like that. And then if they can't prove it or can prove it, I'm like, oh, okay, well, life is full of mystery, and that's
Yeah.
really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And do people come to you for these sessions? Are they usually long-term clients? Do you ever get people who just come to you one time for the IADC?
IADC, Induced After Death Communication.
Yes.
So far, well, this is kind of cool, actually. So when I was trained at EMDR, they showed us a video of a woman who was grieving her past loved one. I can't remember what the relationship was right now, but it happened spontaneously in the EMDR session, kind of like it did for Dr. Podkin, right? So I've had that happen a couple of times where we had not talked about that at all, and they were just talking about their past loved one and happened to have their eyes closed, and then they would say, they're here with me, telling me this or relaying this to me or supporting me. So it's happened spontaneously a couple of times. But the majority of people that do IADC with me are not my clients. They are people that seek me out because of the IADC. And so I kind of prefer it that way too, because I'm not influencing them into anything about anything. So I also don't feel on the what's the word I'm trying to say? I don't really talk to my clients about it either. You know, it's on my website. So if my clients were to be looking at my website, they know that I do it, but I'm never like, hey, I do this thing called IADC. I don't do that. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense that you're not like asking your clients if they're interested in it. That it's people that you
Right.
don't even know that are coming to you and asking for it specifically.
Yeah. And it's a really niche thing. I think more and more therapists are being trained in it, because it's like I'm seeing it more and more online, but it is very niche. So, people who are looking for it from like other states and things like that too. So,
Yeah.
That's so cool.
yeah.
That is cool. And then the idea generally is that things that might happen outside of that, but the belief of the people who came up with IADC is that any kind of sign that you see that reminds you of that person is a communication.
Well, so that depends on them and what they think, right? So like at the end of the session, and it's really interesting too, because most people who do IADC, they have had experience with symbols, right? From their loved ones. And sometimes it'll solidify for them like, oh, that really was them. That they were sending me that cardinal that was outside my window every morning, or they were sending me that like song on the radio that was our wedding song, like all the time. so it'll solidify things they've already experienced.
Right.
So, or dreams that they have. So, this is something that I do believe, like, yes, this happens. People do get communications in dreams from past loved ones, I think, because you're in a dream state and you are, open for that kind of thing. So, yeah, that is one thing that I will say definitely that is a real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I like to, like with art therapy, have clients make mandalas, free association mandalas. And then I'm like, you like everything is in sixes. What, like, is that your favorite number? What is that? Why do you think that's important? They're like, oh yeah, they usually always find some kind of connection.
Yeah.
With their drawing of like why the number 6 is important to them. And it's like, well, you just like drew that. You didn't even mean to. And it was there. And so then talking about it from that point of like why that was important is really cool. And I think that's kind of like how I feel about people's dreams too. Yeah. When they tell me like, every time I have a dream about this person, this thing happens. And I'm like, okay, well, like, what does that mean to you though? Like,
right. Yeah.
That
exactly.
sounds like something to me, but what does it mean to you? That sounds like it's very specific just to you.
Yeah.
And then talking about it from there. Because I don't think people will notice those like consistencies, but then they don't explore what it means to their own like personal self.
Right.
They're just like, oh, I see that all the time. And don't think any further about it.
That's what I love too when I say like going deep with people is I love to learn about people's personal symbolism. I love to know about that and about our collective unconscious, like Carl Jung, right?
Oh yeah,
so
love
like
that stuff.
Collective human symbolism of things. So I love it when people bring dreams to therapy too. Love it. So
cool.
Yeah, and I don't know if you all experience this or not, but when somebody sits on the couch and they start to talk and you can watch the thread of like what their symbolism is or what is on their mind, and you're like, okay, stop. You were just talking about this and it's connected to that, and it's connected to that, and it's connected to that. And they're like, oh, I didn't realize that, But that's how EMDR works too, by the way. So yeah,
that's
neuro pathways of
right.
thoughts. So
yeah. It's like those like detective shows, the murder boards or whatever.
Yeah, all the red lines. Yes.
I feel like
connected.
I'm doing that a lot.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh man, I gotta get on this EMDR train.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not somebody that's gonna say like, oh yeah, it's perfect for modality for everybody. I will never ever do that.
Yeah.
So it's not
that's like
for
a red
everybody.
flag to me when people say that about something. I'm like, I don't think so.
Yeah. If you can't tell, I'm very allergic to like people doing anything culty or anything like narcissistic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very allergic to it, right?
Yeah.
So
No
my
blanket
way is the
statements.
best.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
so.
I'm kind of like, if there's an organized group of people that support something, I automatically question it.
Right,
I'm
exactly.
Like, I'm questioning that authority immediately.
Yes.
That's funny you said cult though, because I'm wearing a cult shirt today. It's making fun of cults, but
yes,
it's funny.
Yeah. Yep. I just think it's a really cool thing that if you don't understand it, you can dismiss it as something that's not real. And that's fine. I mean, people obviously, like I said, I was a skeptic, am a skeptic, and I just think it's a cool way to provide comfort for something that, we all experience.
Yeah.
It's really painful. So, yeah, I love it.
Thank you for explaining that.
Yeah. And the relief that people get out of it is amazing. So I love that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what people want after
Right.
after a big grief moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially in the like years afterwards too. Because that's usually when those symbols pop up for people, is in the years after the loss. And then they're like, why is this happening all the time? It's been 5 years. Why do I keep seeing this?
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
Well, it's a comfort to people too, thinking about the tragic ones that I have done. It is a comfort if somebody's experienced someone completing suicide. And, because that's always the question. Why did they do this? Like, how could they have done this?
If I could just talk to them.
Right. And so, or if somebody has died in a tragic accident and they don't know like what that person was feeling leading up to it or after or what, right? And so it's a comfort for them to communicate with the person so the person can say, I'm okay. I'm sorry I left that way. I love you. We're still connected. That's the other really, really cool thing is that everybody walks away. I'm trying to search through my Rolodex here, but I don't think anybody has walked away without the thought of, I'm still connected to that person.
Yeah.
So I can talk to them anytime. I know they're always around. And that is a huge comfort too. So it's amazing. Oh, there are some people who do IEDC with animals too.
Oh, wow.
So
like pet loss
yes,
stuff. Yeah.
I had somebody. We didn't actually do it. I don't know what happened to that, but somebody asked me if I could do it with a horse, and I was like, I've never done that before, but I don't see why we couldn't. So yeah. So
Man.
yeah.
I could see. I mean, I'm a horse kid. I grew up with horses. I rode horses before I could walk. But horses communicate 100% with body language.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see that being like, I don't know. I could see that being a really interesting session though. Of communicating with a horse that has passed. Like they're not really pets. They're more like partners.
Yeah. I had somebody tell me once that horses can feel your heart rate.
Yeah. So herd mentality.
Yeah.
Fun fact about horses. I'm full of them. But horses in a herd, whoever is the lead horse, they all match heartbeats with that horse when they're in a state of rest.
Yeah.
And then they can hear each other's heartbeats. So if someone's heartbeat elevates, they know something's wrong and everyone goes on alert.
Even
that when they're is sleeping. So cool, isn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
Horses are the coolest animal on earth.
Ooh.
They are pretty cool.
We got to get an equestrian therapist on our podcast.
An equine therapist. I was going to do that before I found art therapy.
Yeah.
And I still might do that, actually. I just don't have a horse, but...
You could find a horse.
I could probably. It's Kentucky.
Yeah. Well, and there are, equine therapists around, so that's true.
There's one that just opened in the East Louisville area, I think, not too long ago.
Yeah.
So maybe we could call her.
I'm down.
Yeah. Well, and I know personally, I had a dog that I raised from a puppy, and she lived to be 15, and the anniversary of her death was yesterday, and I still feel connected to her. I have dreams about her still, and still, just feel that connection.
Yeah.
So I know that she's around too, because when I have a dream about her or when I think about her. So I think that's pretty cool to think about doing IEDC. But I already have, like I just said, communication with her sometimes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever get people who are doing IEDC for a certain person and then they end up communicating with a different person?
That's never happened to me, but Dr. Bodkin talked about that in the book, about how they don't have control over who shows up, but you are trying to focus on one person.
Okay.
So another really cool thing that happened that he described in the book was he was training other therapists at the VA to do it. And he was doing the bilateral, the person was doing the bilateral stimulation. That's the tapping or eye movement or whatever. And the therapist in the room that was watching was also doing bilateral stimulation.
Oh, yeah.
And they picked up on the communication that the person was getting. I don't know how that happened. I just read it in the book. So that's not happened to me in the session with the people. Although and we'll talk about Reiki in a little bit, because you said you wanted to ask me about that. But I'm sensitive to energy shifts. And I think if you're an empathetic person or at all, you're sensitive to energy shifts, right? Somebody's in a bad mood, it affects your mood. Somebody's in a good mood, it affects your mood. But sometimes during the IEDC, I can be like, I think they're talking to that person. I'm not sure, but I sensed a shift that happened. So... Sorry, Courtney, what was your question? What did you say?
If there's ever a different person that they communicate with.
Yeah. It's happened. Dr. Bodkin talked about it happening, but it hasn't happened in my experience yet. So.
Okay. Have you ever done a communication for somebody that they didn't really know very well?
That hasn't happened either.
Okay. Because
the way that it they want to communicate with a specific person. And so we aim our target sequence plan. That's not what it's called in IEDC, but it is what it's called in EMDR. We aim that towards the saddest part of that person's death. So
Okay.
I was
yeah,
thinking more like someone who came in and wanted to connect with like a parent who died when they were really young, and
yeah,
maybe they don't remember them very well.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So in that case, again, we would aim the target sequence plan towards the saddest part of their death. And if they didn't know them, that's one of the saddest things.
Okay.
Yeah.
That they never got to know that parent,
Yeah.
you know? So, or if they imagine how they died
Mhm.
and it makes them very sad. And so, like with EMDR, you have to, like, in order to access and activate a memory that's going to happen, you want them to feel it like sensorily,
Yeah.
right? So, IADC is like that too. So, yeah.
Okay.
And Dr. Bodkin talks about in the book that he was working on trauma with these veterans, and he would do the IADC. Like, there's one example in the book about this veteran who was in Vietnam, and he had befriended a little girl, and her parents were passed, and so he was going to take her home with him, like adopt her, take her home.
Mhm.
Buckle up, this is really tragic.
Okay.
So they had been called to leave the village, and he was like, okay, I want to
Gotta
set
take her.
this up to where you can come with me. And unfortunately, she was rounded up, put on a truck to be taken out of town, and the truck got bombed and she was killed. And so he did his IEDC with Dr. Bodkin and connected with her. And when they got finished with the process, his trauma about that whole situation was resolved.
Wow.
Yeah, because the trauma was all connected to the not being able to see her before she died or talk to her before she
Right.
died. That like
Exactly.
unresolved business kind of thing.
Yeah, and just the heartbreak that he had about, like, he wanted to take care of her and take her home, and then she was murdered. So
Yeah.
awful.
Okay. I want to ask about Reiki
Sure. ask me.
because I am very curious about it.
Yeah.
In my spiritual skeptical way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know a lot of people. I work at Bridge, so I know a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
people who do Reiki.
Yeah.
But I've never tried it
Mhm.
myself.
Okay.
So I would love to know
Yeah.
what it is and what it's all about.
Yeah, I don't really know anything about it.
Okay. So Reiki is a Japanese healing modality, energy healing modality. There are all kinds of energy healing, but Reiki is from Japan. There are different types of Reiki too. I was trained in what's called Usui Reiki, and so the story behind it is that he was meditating and was given symbols that helped with healing. And so that's the tradition that I'm trained in. But literally, the word Reiki is universal energy. So,
Okay.
so what Reiki practitioners are taught is that we're just a conduit of energy. So you are attuned to the symbols that he received, and then you're able to be a conduit, use the symbols, and help heal people with Reiki energy. So, and again, no spiritual belief is needed. It's not really even a spiritual belief. It's just literally about moving energy through the body.
Yeah.
So, and it's not a technique that heals like cancer or like,
Right.
it's meant to be used alongside something else. And so it's just meant to like calm you and to help anything else that you're using to heal help speed that up or assist it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
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 Because I was looking things up about Reiki
Mhm.
and I found a forum of people who were saying, like, what made you believe that Reiki was beneficial? And a lot
Yeah.
of them were like, my dog wasn't eating and then they did Reiki and he
Yeah.
started eating, or like, I had a kidney stone and then I didn't have a kidney stone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was interesting.
So I'm also a skeptic.
Yeah.
So if I ever do Reiki sessions, I hope people who've had Reiki with me don't like whatever about this. But I also am like, is anything happening?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, I'm attuned. I am a Reiki master. There are levels. So, Reiki 1 and 2. Reiki 1 is you can do Reiki on yourself. Reiki 2 is you can do yourself and other people. Reiki 3 and 4. Reiki 3 is, and people do different, like, the different levels people do differently too. So, once you get to 3 and 4, which is like distance Reiki and Reiki master, which means that you can teach people. But I'm trained in all of those levels, and I still am just like, okay, I'm doing all the things that I was trained to do, and then I do the session, and everybody's different on how they receive it too, right? So like somebody might be a complete skeptic, and you've done Reiki with them, and they're like, oh my God, that was the trippiest experience I've ever had. Or they're like, I didn't feel anything. So, and I'm not a judge about what happens in their session. All I'm doing, if I'm doing a Reiki session with somebody, is just trying to support them with loving universal energy. That's it. I have no goal for what happens other than hopefully you're relaxed and hopefully this did something to help you.
Mm-hmm.
That's my goal.
Yeah. Can
Yeah.
you describe like what a typical Reiki session would be like for a first timer?
Sure. So Reiki is a session where you want to you begin it by grounding both of us, and we're taking deep breaths. You're going to lay fully clothed on a table, and Reiki is either a hands-on or a hovering above. Okay. And you ask the person like, are you okay with touch? There are certain hand positions for Reiki that you're taught, and people start in different ways. I always start at people's heads. That's the way most people are trained. And there are hand positions that go along with the chakra system. So, and I also am very, very interested in not appropriating things. And so the chakra system is not a part of my belief system, but it is the best way to explain it to people, where you explain to them where energy centers are in the body that correspond with different things, right? So pretty much everybody has, I guess that's an assumption, that everybody's heard of what chakras are, if you're into that kind of thing. But the hand positions correspond with those energy centers. And you do the hand positions along the energy centers, and it can be a half an hour, it could be an hour. And the person receiving it, I just tell them, just relax and rest. You might fall asleep, you might stay awake the whole time. Your brain might adventure to somewhere else. You're going to experience the energy in these hand positions as cold or hot. You might feel things moving around. You might see colors while you're laying there, and so I do all the hand positions. And then after the session, I'll just, tell them, okay, take your time getting up. And then we'll talk a little bit about what they experienced. And I'll talk a little bit about what I experienced, just as far as energy shifts and what happens with the energy. So that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So doing the hand positions, you're not really talking to them.
No.
Right? Yeah.
No. I don't like to talk to people while I'm doing Reiki because they're supposed to be relaxing.
Gotcha.
That's
fair.
Right? So it's kind of like when you get a massage. I don't know about you guys, but I don't like the massage therapist to talk to me.
I don't like massages, period.
Okay.
I don't enjoy being touched with my eyes closed like that.
Yeah, right? And naked.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah. And that's the good thing about Reiki too. Fully clothed on a table. You can be under a blanket. You can be on top of the blanket, whatever you want to do. So, and there's going to be relaxing music, and it's just a meditative type state. So yeah.
Do people come to you for Reiki for specific concerns or?
Some people do. Some people will say I'm having cancer treatments, and so I know Reiki is supportive to cancer treatments. Or sometimes Reiki helps emotional things too, right? That's a part of our training. Is some of it is the physical energy centers, and some of it has to do with emotional healing too. So some people will be like, I'm just really, upset or whatever about something, and so I want a Reiki session to help smooth that through. Or people will be like, I don't know, I've been through a really traumatic experience and I just really want some comfort. So there's all kinds of reasons.
Okay.
Yeah. It's really cool. I love it too. So, and that's a bonus too, is when you're a Reiki practitioner, if you're giving Reiki, you're getting it.
Oh, wow.
Because you're a channel.
Because you're conduit for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the Reiki energy is coming through you into the other person. So you both get a benefit.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And that's one where you're more, I don't know what the word is, but you are kind of seeing what's going on and being like, okay, I need to spend more time focusing here or.
Well, so that everybody is different, right? So if they come in for a Reiki session, I will, scan them for just feeling their energy. And while I have my hands in the different positions, I'll feel a response from their energy centers, right? And so I'll be like, I wonder if you're trained to be able to know when the energy is done, what it needs to be done. But not everybody is the same, right? So I could have my hands there for the typical amount of time on an energy center is like 3 minutes. So I can have my hands there for 3 minutes. But if I'm feeling like a lot of like movement of energy and am determining like, hey, my hands need to be here a little bit longer, that's what I do. So, and if my body is like, get away from this energy center, then I'm like, all right, moving on. So yeah. And the person has to consent to the Reiki. And sometimes people will say, yeah, I really want it. And then you go to do the session and you're like, they do not want me to do this.
Yeah.
So then I would be like, are you sure? Because I'm getting feedback from your body that you don't want this. So yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Thinking about IFS, we all have different parts of us. And some parts of us are like, yes, let's do this. And some parts of us are like, hell no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I really want to try it.
Yeah.
I just haven't.
I can't hold still. So is that an issue with Reiki?
It doesn't have to be, because like, say you came in for a Reiki session and you're like, I cannot hold still. I would say, all right, cool. Then we can take breaks if you need to, or you get on the table or you sit on the couch or whatever. Everybody does it in whatever position.
Okay.
So but mostly it's table.
Yeah.
Then I can say, well, we can take breaks, or you can stop if you want to, or you can lay on the table, or you can sit in the chair, or whatever you want to do. I'm like that in therapy too. Like people in therapy, I'm like, do what you need to do. Get up and move around, or like take a break, or whatever you need to do. Sit on the floor. I personally like sitting on the floor, especially in the intensives. So because I like to be level with the person, and I just like sitting on the floor. So yeah. So I don't know. It would be really interesting too that I've had people say, I don't like massages. I don't like to sit still. And then we do the Reiki and they're like, oh my God, I've never been so relaxed in my entire life.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Because like yoga is my jam. That's usually when I feel the most calm, is after I do yoga.
Yeah.
But I do the constant flow type of yoga.
Yeah.
So it's more like dancing, I guess.
Yeah. And that's something that if somebody came into a Reiki session and they were like, I just can't sit still, can we do Reiki to like direct at that to help me calm myself so I can sit still? Then we could like set that intention and see if it helps. You know? So yeah.
That could be interesting.
Yeah, Reiki is fun. So
is that usually something too that people come to see you just for Reiki?
People have come to see me just for Reiki, and like we were talking about before we started recording, it's two different things, right? Reiki is not therapy, and therapy, you're licensed to do certain things and not spiritual work. So yeah, which is a whole other thing that we could talk about another time. But like about like cultural appropriation of things that people use in therapy, like EMDR, shamans have used drumming for thousands of years, and then now we're using tapping for EMDR, and like not giving credit to those shaman who came up with bilateral tapping.
Yeah. I just learned recently that Maslow's hierarchy of needs comes from a native indigenous belief system of like, but theirs is more of a circular community care centered priority of needs versus the pyramid, which is very like individual and kind of like capitalistic as well. But I just learned that recently, and I was like, oh my gosh, I liked that way better than the pyramid of needs.
Yeah, that's
it made
so interesting.
way more sense to me.
I have not heard that.
Like it could all happen at the same time,
Yeah,
right?
it's not like
build
steps.
Yeah.
It happens, and it happens in a cycle, and it keeps moving. And a huge component of it is community care. And all of the pieces are community focused rather than individually focused. Which is, I'm big into community care.
Yeah, I wish that was a more mainstream resource.
Or like we talked about before, people that say like, oh, my friend is trauma dumping on me or whatever. And it's like, no, your friend is having a hard time and they want to talk to you because that's what communities and friendships are for.
Right.
That's what they do.
Right.
You don't have to do it on your own.
Exactly. And that's one of the things I like. I mentioned in the email to you, helping women heal from like abusive, manipulative relationships. I mean, a lot of those times people are isolated. Women are isolated from each other.
Yeah.
And I'm trying really hard to build something else in my practice about bringing women into community. It's just harder because there isn't a setup for that. You know, I've done group intensives with people where I have like 3 or 4 women that all kind of like have the same presenting issue. And so it's been so gratifying to watch those women be like, me too, you too, yes. And then watch them heal together. And so that is a huge, I mean, like thinking about now and things that are happening in our government, like community is what we all need.
Yes.
If we're separate, it's easier to like make us all feel like this is terrible and nothing is ever going to be better. But if you're in community, then you're like, we've got each other.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And I work with pretty much mostly neurodivergent kids and teens.
Yeah.
And their parents, you know, they're like, my kid just got diagnosed with XYZ. It's usually like 3 or 4 things. And they're like, and I don't know what to do about it. And I'm like, you need to find community.
Right.
And there's not really anything there. There isn't really a community. There's like Facebook groups, but that's not enough.
Yeah.
People need to like meet in person in third spaces.
Right.
To get that support, but that doesn't exist. So it's like, how do we make this work? And that's why like I love doing group therapy. That's probably, I like that more than individual sessions. I like, and it's just because so like half of the progress in that is just being in a group of other people who feel and think the same way.
Yeah. Well, like you probably have this experience too, where you see people session after session say the same things, you know, like they have the same story. And you're like, I've told people over and over again, if I had a film projector in my head and I could show you like all the people that I've seen that say the exact same thing that you're saying and have the exact same needs that you have, you would feel so validated and so much better. And so that's why group work is so great, is because you get to even almost sit back and be like, look, you all are taking care of each other.
Yeah, you don't even need me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you just needed each other.
I love support. I just finished a parent support group, and it was so great to have the parents just automatically be like, what do you need?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And then they form, you know, like there's different schools of thoughts about group and how people communicate with each other outside of group. But I have watched women form relationships with other women, and it accelerated their growth and their healing outside of that session that we did together. And so like, I just sit back and I'm like, this is amazing to watch women connect with each other. And men, come on, men, let's, you know, come to therapy, you know,
which is
so
it's so funny with men because they're coming to therapy because like, how do I connect with people more?
Right.
And it's like, you gotta go talk to them, my guy. Like, you
right,
gotta go out and talk to people, but they don't even know how to do that. So it's
a therapist at my practice started a men's social group.
Good.
And it's been awesome. Everybody has loved it.
That's awesome.
So,
you know, and sometimes men don't even know that they're not connecting with people.
Yeah.
Which seems like weird to say, but they don't realize it. Like, why are my wife and I have so many problems? Why are my partner and I having so many problems? And it's like, well, because you've got a wall up over here and they do too. And you've got to learn how to like be vulnerable.
Yeah.
So
there's all these stereotypes and funny stories of guys who come home and their wives are like, how was time with your friend? It was like, yeah, it was fun. So-and-so's, you know, getting divorced. It's like, oh, what's the story? I don't know. I didn't ask. Like,
right. Exactly. So I've had that experience with my husband where I'm like, did you ask him about this? And he's like, no. And so now he's gotten better about it because we've had those conversations. So now he asks more questions. So,
my husband is definitely like nosy. But not like in a bad way. He's very sweet and supportive.
Let's not label it as nosy.
Right. It's not even like, well, sometimes he is just nosy.
Well,
sometimes.
Sometimes I'm nosy too. But
I know, right? That's a part of being a therapist too, is have a little bit of nosy problems. So
you have Walk and Talk
Yes.
on your website.
Yes.
I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you like how you got into that and what that looks like, because that's something that I would love to offer my clients.
Okay. Well, it's super simple, right? Like you just find what's the release form and just tell them all about, like there are like so many online that you can buy or whatever.
Yeah.
But so I am ADHD and my brain is like all over the place about everything. And I get really restless and bored doing the same things over and over and over again. So like if it's a nice day outside like today, I don't want to sit in my office and just like sit here when we could be looking at all the beautiful colors of leaves and we could like be experiencing sunshine, which will help us. And so like and this is another thing that you have to like get your clients on board with, because they're so used to, we're going to sit on a couch and talk about things for an hour,
Right.
you know? So it does take a little bit of like, that is something like talking about the IEDC, which I don't like out and out offer to people. I will say, do you want to get up and move? Do you want to go outside? Do you want to, whatever? And not a lot of people take me up on it, which is disappointing to me. So if any of you are listening, I want to go outside. I love being outside, and it's just so healing to be outside. So I've done it in a nearby park. I've done it like near my office. And so you just have to be careful about confidentiality. You have to tell the people, like, people might see you and they might know that I'm a therapist and we're doing a therapy session. So there's like risk involved in that. But like the people who have done it have been like, I don't care. They don't know that this is what we're doing probably. So yeah, but it is really nice. You just have to find your pace though. I'm a little bit of a fast walker, so I have to like slow down.
I'm a very slow walker, and it drives my husband crazy.
but you're being meditative, right?
Yes.
Taking a nice slow walk.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's so cool. Because I work with a lot of ADHD kiddos, and they cannot hold still for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's like they almost know that their parents expect them to stay in that room with me for 45 minutes. But if I notice any type of antsiness, I'm like, hey, you want to toss a ball outside? You want to go outside? Let's go outside. Let's walk. And especially with like my 12 and up year old people I see, because they don't get to go outside at school. Yeah. So this is like their only chance to go outside. And it's kind of tricky. I work at 3 different locations because of novelty. I got to change it up every day. Yeah. And like one place has a great outdoor space. One place does not. It's right next to the highway. And then the other place is at a school with 1 playground. So everyone will know that they're seeing me if I go to the playground with them. So it's just, with kids, I feel like it's a little extra tricky to offer that walk and talk kind of thing. Yeah. But it would be better for them to do that rather than just sit in my room the whole time.
Well, and thinking about that, I think back in the day, in one of the jobs that I had before I did private practice, I did in-home therapy with kids. And so like part of that therapy is to take them places and do therapy somewhere. And I'll never forget, like, so many of those kids were like, this is my therapist. Have you met her?
They don't really care. Yeah.
Right. And I'm like,
the parents do, but the kid doesn't.
And I'm always like, yeah. And you have to play it off or whatever. But how cool would it be if kids were like, yeah, he's talking to a therapist. Like, the mental health is so important. And like, if it was destigmatized, because kids were like, oh, he sees a therapist? That's awesome. So yeah.
Just normalizing
those
it.
sessions are always the best. Like the car ride. And then you're like,
yes, because you don't have to.
I got you some food.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Yeah, you're like the grandparent therapist where you like bring them candy or food or whatever, and they're like, "Thanks, I want to see you next week."
Right, right, yeah.
So yeah, but walk and talk therapy is also bilateral. So like, if you're doing trauma work with somebody, the stepping like automatically does that bilateral stimulation. Or if you're outside and like if you're driving and your eyes are going across the horizon or walking, that is also bilateral stimulation. So, and like Courtney, I think you were saying, when you have a kid in the car, you don't have to look at each other. And so that makes the session less awkward. So if you're walking with somebody, I had a client one time who told me they had to put sunglasses on during the session, and literally did, because we were talking about something that like they were really uncomfortable talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, joking about putting their sunglasses on. I said, well, put them on if you want to. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not embarrassed, but if you are, then do what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
So walk and talk therapy is really good for that too, where you don't have to be making eye contact or looking at the person. You just
Yep.
walking side by side with them.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole healing thing, thinking about like drumming. There's the whole healing thing of doing something rhythmically with somebody else that, like, I think for better or for worse, Bessel van der Kolk, which we can talk about that or not talk about it. But he talks about in The Body Keeps the Score about how healing that is to like do something ritually with other people or rhythmically with other people, because it just helps you co-regulate your nervous system.
Yes.
You know, so.
Oh man, my favorite
Yeah.
example of that before I became a therapist, and I was working at a public school, and it was like, it wasn't great. It was just very, very stressful, and I worked in behavioral classrooms, so it was a lot of behavioral management in a public school with very low support from administration, and I was sick and tired of it. But that was my job, and I would go to line dancing like 3 times a week because of that community.
Yeah.
But also the dancing was bilateral stimulation.
Right.
The music, everything, like everything about it was just straight up regulation for me.
Yeah.
And it was enough to help me get through like 5 days a week of work.
Yeah,
Was
absolutely.
just doing that every day.
Yeah.
So examples of bilateral stimulation, people always think of EMDR like the lights and stuff, but it could be so many things.
Yeah.
Drawing big circles, dancing counts, swinging can count.
Yes.
Like it's a lot of different things.
That's why too, like, if you go to concerts, so churches are really successful at doing this too. Like if you're singing in unison with somebody about, or with lots of somebodies about things at a concert, a church, whatever, then there is a connection emotionally there, for better or for worse again, sometimes, you know, but like that kind of thing too. There's a word for that I can't think of what it is. When you're singing at the same time as somebody or a large group of people.
And you get that feeling.
Yes. Like,
it feels so good.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yes.
So, but I think it's because you're stimulating your vagus nerve. Right. And so
like humming.
Yes.
I tell that to my like clients who have panic attacks. I'm like, push a wall really hard and start humming.
Yeah.
Those are usually the fastest 2 things that'll work.
Yeah. Stimulating that vagus nerve so that it tells your parasympathetic nervous system you're safe. You know? So
it's like a cat purr.
Yes.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, cats know where to lay on you, I
Yes,
think.
they
I've
do.
heard that.
It's right here, and then they purr really hard, your stomach, lower stomach, and your legs. Yep.
I
know.
read that or saw a TikTok video or something about that, about how cats know how to lay on you. So that's the other thing. So like being a spiritual person, but being a science person, in my office, I have 2 whiteboards, and one of them has the polyvagal ladder on it, and then like the IFS 8Cs. And so like I'm always educating people about their nervous system, and like, of course you don't remember this. You were in fight or flight when that happened or whatever. So yeah, I like do both.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people too, like the teenagers I see, they talk about like, I just had a gut feeling, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And I'm like, well, there's science behind that. Do you know the science behind why you felt that way about your friend saying that to you? And then it's like it clicks in their head. They're like, oh, this isn't just some like woohoo mystical stuff. Like, oh, this is scientific, and this is why my brain did that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. I love to understand it. And then also say life is full of mystery.
Yeah.
You know?
Because it is both.
Yeah, it is both. I'll never forget, like, when I was having my first child, my doctor was talking to me about what a miracle it is that everything lines up perfectly. And, like, there is scientific explanation for it, but then there is also this glimmer of, like, the stars aligned for everything to line up perfectly.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's another example of, like, it's science, but it's also a cool mystery.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
I feel like the more I've learned about being a therapist and the longer I've been a therapist, the more in tune I've gotten with my own like spiritual self.
yeah.
And the more I've been able to be like, this is science, this is not, and that's okay.
That's right. Yeah.
And I'm just noticing that the glimmer, the magic happening more and more.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. This was such a fun conversation.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I loved
Thank you
it.
so much for being
Yeah,
here.
well, thanks for having me. I was so nervous.
Yeah.
I was like, oh gosh, what am I going to say and how I'm going to say it? So, yeah.
Hopefully it wasn't terrible.
No, it was great. It was great. I was just talking about my own nervousness,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, you're a big name in the community. So
I am.
I think so.
You're also, I think, one of the first people that pops up for Louisville EMDR, I think, too. You're one of the
What?
top 5 that popped up every time. Like whenever I try to refer people,
Yeah.
you're always on the top of the list.
That's weird. Well, I mean, I have been around for a long time. Like I graduated
Yeah.
grad school in 2005. And so like I've been around for a while. So
Yeah.
that's,
Well, you're a big name in my world.
oh, well, I'm glad.
At Bridge,
I feel
yes.
very privileged for that for sure. So yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
Well, thank
anytime you
guys.
want to come back,
Yeah, please
and
have me
talk more
back.
about whatever you want.
I've been thinking about doing my own podcast, but I'm like, what in the world would I talk about? You know?
Well, that's
So,
what we said.
Yeah.
And then we're like, we'll just yap at each other.
Yeah.
And then we've been doing it for
You and I
Over
met
a
about
year?
this podcast, right?
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
Oh,
She was
yeah.
pretty
We
close.
did.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, I don't know. So, but I had a great time.
Make sure that you're following us on everything. Make sure you're subscribed to our podcast wherever you like to listen. Follow Jenny on her stuff. It's all linked down in our episode description. And make sure you leave all your questions that you might have about what we talked about today. And join us again next week. Bye. Goodbye.